I've been a wrestling fan since the days of Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant in the late 80s, and although I'm old enough to have gone, I missed out on SummerSlam at Wembley Stadium back in 1992. I've tried to make up for it in recent years though, going to the last 3 New Japan Pro Wrestling UK tours, WWE Clash at the Castle in Cardiff last year, and a number of NXT UK and independent shows where I've seen some of today's biggest stars like Will Ospreay, Aussie Open, Jay White and Walter in the early stages of their careers. So the moment AEW All In London was announced for Wembley Stadium earlier this year, I knew there was no way I was going to miss out on a show that had a real chance to make history as the biggest wrestling show ever anywhere in the world. So there is Wembley Stadium, and there is things starting to get pretty busy down there, including a queue forming outside one of the entrances. I've been here since Friday. It's now 2:30 on Sunday, so gates are open in an hour. As you can see, it's already getting pretty busy around the gates. There are merch stands scattered around the place as well. The show doesn't officially start until 5. I think that's the pre-show at 5, and then the actual show at 6. So we're still quite a long way before the show gets underway, and I would be very surprised if it was finished much before like 10:30, 11 p.m. So it's likely to be a long one as well. So I'm not massively keen to go and stand in a queue already, especially, you know, reserved seats and all that. Car park's not even full yet, but I am going to have to venture down there shortly, I suspect. While I am out in the wild for the first time since this morning when I went over to Marylebone for the Wrestling Observer live podcast, it's certainly a lot busier now than it was then. I'm also having to wear a jacket because I figure it's going to be quite cold later on today, even though I don't really want to wear my jacket now, so I'm going to sweat. But I mean, I've not even moved away from the hotel yet, and there's just a buzz of people around. Everybody here is wearing some kind of wrestling t-shirt. Everybody's very excited. This is the biggest wrestling event ever in terms of attendance or paid attendance or whatever statistic. There's statistics. There's probably going to be people who are going to argue with this statistic. Bottom line, this is a big, big deal. If you're into wrestling and you're in the UK or even Europe or further afield, judging by the podcast I was at this morning, if you've got any interest in wrestling at all and you can be here, you have made sure you're here. I am now waiting for the people I'm going with, only one of which I would recognise, and they also have my ticket. So there is a chance I might not get in yet, but assuming I get my ticket, assuming they do turn up, assuming I've not been swindled, I should have my ticket shortly, and then might be time to head over and try and find some merch, but I suspect the queues are going to be so long, I probably won't bother. Let's face it, I get the AEW crate, I have plenty of merch, although I would like the event t-shirt. We'll see what the queues are like. They're not going to have my size left now anyway. All the Fat Man sizes would have gone long ago. They're the first to go at a wrestling event. The only time I've ever been to Wembley before is for or this version of Wembley, is for posh matches. And obviously we never come close to selling out. I've never seen it quite this rammed. It is getting pretty busy. It is pretty busy still. If anything, getting a little busier. So we're aiming for the blue zone, which is there. Gates supposedly opened 15 minutes ago, but I've not actually seen anybody pass through one yet. The only time I've ever been here before, there was like half this many people here. So this is probably the biggest crowd I've ever been a part of. Well, I am in, and it is just as busy in here as it was out there. It is absolute madness. It's just gone 4 o'clock, so it's probably taken best part of an hour from leaving the hotel to actually getting in. And now we just need to find our seats or find somewhere to have a look at the merch, but every merch stand has been absolutely rammed, and I'm not that desperate for a t-shirt, to be honest. Let's have a first look at the setup. So we are in the corner here. So there is the ring. So it looks like we're quite close to the front, which is very snazzy. So there we have the ring set up. So I guess, yeah, we've got entranceway over there, hard cam here, so we're sort of behind the hard cam. Not actually quite in the corner, more on the side. Very cool. So this is the view from my seat, directly opposite the entranceway, and just behind a couple of Peterborough United flags, which I didn't bring with me, but thoroughly appreciate. One thing that is very much appreciated after the amount of football matches I've been to this year is having leg room. Barcelona could never. So this is what 20 quid gets you inside Wembley. We've got some chicken tenders and chips, which I think was £10.95, a £5 Diet Coke, and then presumably a £4 bottle of water with no lid on. Wembley. No matter what happened for the rest of the evening, they've just had the biggest boo of the whole night because they tried to advertise tickets to a Fulham match, because the guy who owns the company always owns Fulham. We weren't amused. Boo, boo, boo. We're about 15 minutes before the start of the pre-show. Not close to full yet, but it is taking a long time to get people in from outside. We've got to get 80,000 people in here. Well, we've watched the first match. We've seen MJF and Adam Cole win the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship. Slight problem with actually being able to see what's going on so far, even though relatively close to the ring. But there's a big post holding up the TV screens and the cover over the ring that's kind of in the way. And they cut away from what's going on in the ring on the screens quite regularly. As soon as the match was finished, they just put the All In logo back up there, so we couldn't actually see what was happening post-match. So hopefully that's something they resolve as things go on, or there's going to be multiple times where we don't really know what's going on. Like right now, we're in a period of complete silence, where I guess they're doing studio stuff as part of the 0 hour, but we've not even had a hello and welcome, really. It's weird. And then once the main show actually started and we stopped getting those little pauses between matches, because it was just match for the pay-per-view coverage, it became pretty much impossible for me to use any of the audio I recorded at the event. A combination of copyright music playing really loud fans drowning out what I'm saying. It's completely unusable. Here's an example of what you would have actually have heard. So rather than completely guaranteeing the YouTube copyright strike, I figured I'd just sum up my thoughts while we play some of the video that I captured of the event over the top of it. Overall, it was a really fun show. It was a little bit unfortunate that we couldn't really see any of the entrances. I mentioned it a little bit earlier in the video, but whoever's idea it was to have the wrestlers enter at floor level so that when the fans stood up around them, anyone not like in the first couple of rows or way up in the rafters, nobody else could actually see them. So all we really knew when the wrestlers were coming to the ring is we'd hear their music. None of the screens were showing the intros, and then they'd just appear in the ring. Why they cut the TV feeds the moment the matches were over, so we didn't see any of the after the match stuff, I'm not sure. The one exception to that is after the main event, they did show all of this stuff between MJF and Adam Cole on the big screens, so at least they did that. But that stuff aside, I mean, I'm nitpicking a little bit there, because obviously if you go to any wrestling live event, you're not guaranteed to see everything from every angle. It's part of going to see wrestling live. I mean, it goes without saying, it's the biggest wrestling event ever. It was obviously the biggest wrestling crowd I've ever been a part of, and the atmosphere was just absolutely incredible. The timing of the show was perfect. We started in the bright summer sunshine, and then slowly the sun went down to the point where the last 2 or 3 matches were in complete darkness. They were able to really go for it with the lights, the pyro, the fireworks going off the top of the Wembley Arch. There really was no expense spared on that side of the production stuff, and it was a fantastic experience, a once in a lifetime opportunity to be part of the first event of this kind, the first Wembley wrestling show in over 30 years. I know they've already announced that they're coming back again next year, but there's nothing quite like that first time, is there? And I can't imagine, I'll say it now a year in advance because who knows what could change over the course of a year, but I can't imagine they're going to be able to fit 80,000 people in there again next year, because interest for the second time around is never going to be quite as big as for the first. The casuals who just wanted to be there as part of the experience probably aren't going to go back next year. I've already got my hotel booked. I have to be there again next year. I thought it was absolutely incredible. I know I didn't show any of the merch in this video. In all honesty, I didn't go to any of the merch stands. The queues were absolutely horrifically long. I ended up just having a look on the website, and pretty much everything that was available on the merch stands was available on the AEW website. So if you're interested in the merch, you can still go on the website now and grab some of that stuff. I think at a discount now the event is done. But all I can say is if you ever get the opportunity to go to an event of this kind, and you will get the opportunity this time next year, they're coming back. If you've got even a passing interest in wrestling, I think you have to experience watching it on this kind of scale just once. I've said a million times on this channel, on the previous channel, that one of my favorite things to do is just be in a large group of people all doing something they love, and this was very much an example of that. And for that alone, I thought the experience was absolutely incredible. And I think even if you didn't like wrestling going in, you would have come out of it a wrestling fan, having had a fantastic time as part of an incredible atmosphere. So we are going to wrap the video up there. Like I say, none of the audio for the rest of the video was usable, and by the time I got back to my hotel, my voice was absolutely shot from joining in with a lot of the singing and booing and cheering and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't record anything when I got back to my hotel. Did get this delicious kebab though, so that was also a highlight of the experience. But we will wrap it up there. Please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for... I'll be honest, I probably won't do another wrestling video, but there's lots of travel and nerdy stuff around about the place as well. So subscribe for that. Have a look around the rest of the channel. You'll probably find some other stuff you enjoy. And thank you very much for watching.